Lots of ranked games last week in college football. Some pretty good games, lots of games to catch up on. And I'm a little bit pissed off at ESPN right now because they will not put the SMU UCF game on the Watch ESPN app. I do not know why. But yeah, I mean, every week the Watch ESPN app has every game that you can think of, and all that. And then just all of a sudden this week, like they don't want to put the SMU UCF game on, really pissing me off. I don't, no one's put it on YouTube yet, so I hadn't really been able to watch that one. I did see some highlights of it, saw all the touchdowns or whatever, but that really doesn't do me justice. I need to go back and watch the game. UCF won the game. But let's talk about last week a little bit here. Utah and UCLA played on Friday. Utah handled them with flying colors. Not much to talk about there. UMass and Mississippi State. UMass gave them hell all day, but Mississippi State was able to win the game late. They got Alabama next week. Big game there. Missouri was able to kill Florida. Florida looks just dog shit. I really don't know what's going on with that program right now, but they need to get it together. This is a top tier program that just isn't playing like it right now. Auburn handled Texas A&M. Auburn had some big defensive plays in the second quarter there late to help them get a little bit of a lead. And A&M couldn't really ever get going again. Starkle played better, though, than Mund for A&M moving forward. Vanderbilt was able to beat Western Kentucky. Pretty good little game there between those Kentucky schools, but Vanderbilt was able to win by 14. Baylor got their first win of the year over Kansas. Kansas State played a shootout with Texas Tech and was able to come out on top. Real good game there. Definitely Texas Tech's game to win, and they lost that one there. Kansas State was using their third-string quarterback, so tough loss there. Tough for old Kingsbury to recover from that. Wisconsin defeated Indiana pretty easily. This game was close through about three quarters, but then Wisconsin scored about 21 in the fourth. Penn State, Michigan State, what a crazy game. Started watching this game at 11. Ended up finishing this game at about 7. It felt like, this game ended. This game it was like two games. It stopped after a little bit after the first quarter. It was 14-7 Penn State, and then Michigan, and then we had a delay, a long about 3-4 hour delay. Michigan State was the hotter team coming out of the break, tied it up, and it looked like Penn State was gonna eke by. They're up by 3, I think it was, pretty late, and then Michigan State got a field goal, and they were able to get a field goal as time ran out. Penn State's offense is so helter-skelter. One possession, it goes down the field with flying colors. The next, it goes 3 and out. So real helter-skelter Penn State offense. The defense has somewhat been exposed the last 2 weeks when they've played a better team, giving up a lot more points than just 9 like they were at the first of the year. Purdue handled Illinois. Florida State defeated Syracuse. It was a pretty close game. Florida State had about a 10-point lead late. Syracuse started coming back like they do. It's like Syracuse just kicks themselves in the nuts all day, and then around the fourth quarter, they're like, well, let's see if we can fucking pull this one out. And they missed a field goal to tie it up at the end of the game, so that was tough. Virginia versus Georgia Tech, real rainy. Good game here. Georgia Tech took a big lead in the second half. Started the second half, went up 28-13. Virginia answered right back, 2 touchdowns, and then a big defensive plays in the fourth quarter by Virginia, and they were able to come out on top. Georgia Tech did go up 36-33 late, but then Virginia scored another touchdown late. Kurt Beninckert was really impressive in this game. I hadn't been impressed with him this year, but he was good this game. Georgia, South Carolina. South Carolina did all they could. Bentley did all right. I talked about Bentley this year. He's pretty good. You got to see if you watched this game that he's not too bad. Georgia, the 2 backs and the offensive line, that defense just keep getting it done. For Georgia, they got a big test though this week in Auburn. Iowa State, West Virginia, good game here. West Virginia just jumped out on top, went up about 17-20. Iowa State, multiple times that they could have got the game, got a field goal in the early. They just couldn't get anything going. And then, late they started really picking it up. If this game would have had another quarter in it, Iowa State probably would have won. I think more impressive on this year is Iowa State's defense. They're looking really good. West Virginia team that scores a lot of points at home. They only gave up 20 to them. So that was good there. Notre Dame jumped on Wake Forest pretty early and ended that one pretty quick. Wake Forest did do a good job in the second half of scoring points and keeping it somewhat close, but Notre Dame handled that one. Washington State, Stanford, pretty good game here. Falk got the start. Falk played pretty well. Made some good throws throughout the day. Stanford, they're real one-dimensional. It's Bryce Love or nothing. And Washington State was able to score pretty late and not terribly late, but late, and they were the last team to score. And they were able to win that one. Ohio State got slaughtered by Iowa. A little bit of a surprise here. I thought Ohio State would handle this, but obviously they were thinking about Penn State too much. They weren't even caring about Iowa the next week. So, and they got slaughtered by Iowa. Iowa started real early. They had a pick six early. They had 38, I think it was, pretty early into the third quarter or so, and they just kept stacking on points. Ohio State really couldn't get out of that hole that they were in. They were down by 14 for a good amount of the third quarter. So Northwestern, Nebraska, good game here. Northwestern was able to come out on top. Northwestern is playing real good right now. I think they're 6-3, 4-2 in conference play thus far. And they've got some easy games to end their season. They could be 9-3 at the end of the year if they keep playing this way. Northwestern's defense played really good against Nebraska. Tanner Lee had a bunch of interceptions throughout the day. Rutgers was able to come out on top against Maryland by a touchdown. Clemson, NC State, real good game here. NC State was really winning the game in the first half. And Clemson had to make a little comeback there in the second half, and they went up by about 11 or so. But then NC State, they pushed back. And they got it close again. And they had a chance to tie it up, but they weren't able to get in the end zone. Kind of a bad call late in the game that sent NC State back even farther than where they were at after they had made a good play. But yeah, Clemson got the win. Arkansas beat Coastal Carolina by a point. It was a pretty good game. Watched that one. Ole Miss, Kentucky. Ole Miss was able to win late on the last score over Kentucky. Oklahoma State. You hear about no defense. I mean, this is pretty typical Big 12 offenses showdown. Usually the defenses don't show up for these Big 12 games. And it was a lot of big plays. Hollywood Brown had a big game for Oklahoma. Baker threw for about 600 yards. He had a really good game. Rudolph had a really good game. They were just going at it, 38-38 at halftime. The one difference was, Rudolph's mistakes cost Oklahoma State a little bit more than Baker's mistakes cost Oklahoma. Both quarterbacks had picks, but Oklahoma State had a big pick in the red zone, right on the goal line. Oklahoma did too, I guess you could say. But real good game. This is going to go down as one of the top games of the year. Just wanted to go back and watch. Maybe not. It didn't go down to the wire per se, but it was a really good game. A lot of action. Marcel Aitman, for me, he climbed up draft boards this game. He had a really big game. A lot of receivers for Oklahoma State played good. Justice Hill played good for Oklahoma State. Big game right here. It was a good game for college football in general. As we go down our list, we got Wyoming, Colorado State. This game, it was raining in the first half. In the second half, it was coming down with snow. Field was covered in snow by the fourth. Real good game. Basically, the miscue in this one was Colorado State had a field goal in the third and they missed it. They didn't even place it. It just the snow got them all fucked up. And Wyoming, Josh Allen was able to lead Wyoming late, get a touchdown, and they won 16-13. TCU jumped all over Texas. Texas started Shane Buechele. You know how that goes whenever they start Buechele. They don't win. They don't score points. They were down 17-0 early in the second quarter. They lost 24-7. Good bounce back for TCU. They got Oklahoma next week. UCF, like I said, won over SMU. I kind of started my video with talking about this game a little bit. They won 31-24. They were up 28-24 pretty late, and they kicked a field goal, I think it was. But SMU played them well, and SMU gave them some hell. I really would like to watch this game. Watch ESPN if you get your shit together. Unless for some reason we're just not allowed to watch. You put like every other if anything, don't put one of these other fucking big games on here, like Miami versus Virginia Tech or something like that. Like why can't SMU UCF be on there? But anyways, Alabama does what they do every year to LSU. We've kind of gotten used to this LSU Alabama game. Alabama jumps on them 14-3. LSU might score a touchdown in the second half, but Alabama handles with flying colors. I don't understand how Alabama's not number one. They've done just as good as Georgia, I guess, because Georgia has a better win, I guess, at Notre Dame. It gave them, but I don't see how you take Alabama from 1-2. Definitely when both these teams are going to be playing later in the year, and definitely when just the mindset of both these teams is Alabama is 1, Georgia is 2. Like, how can Georgia be 1 when they hadn't even beat Alabama? In a sense, I know Alabama hasn't beat Georgia this year, but in the most part, Georgia takes L's to Alabama. So I'm kind of surprised about that. But other than that, and then biggest surprise of the week was probably the Miami-Virginia Tech game. Now, Virginia Tech didn't come to play. They looked real stagnant. The Josh Jackson kid for Virginia Tech, he either looks like he has it that game or he looks like he doesn't have it. He didn't have it this game. The offense was pretty stagnant. Miami slaughtered Virginia Tech's defense. Virginia Tech's defense was kind of going to be the strong suit when keep him in the game, and it somewhat did keep him in the game, but Miami was just scoring on big plays. Braxton Berrios got going early. Then running back Holmes got going in the second half, had some big runs. 28-10, they slaughtered Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, their offense ain't going to do a whole lot. Their defense is going to create the turnovers for the offense, get their offense good field position. That just didn't happen. Miami didn't turn the ball over. Condemn Miami for this win. I've been hating on Miami a lot lately. Just because the easy schedule that they had and the close games they had. But they won a game here. They got Notre Dame on the schedule, though, next. We'll see how that goes. Michigan versus Minnesota. Michigan's just a better team than Minnesota. Harbaugh better coach than Fleck or PJ Fleck or whatever. I don't think Fleck's going to be the answer. I'm kind of off his whole bandwagon. He doesn't look good this year. Now, I know Minnesota will improve in the next couple of years because, this is his first year there, but I just don't see it. Michigan, big game there. Michigan's right there in the thick of the Big Ten now. With the fact that they have a quarterback now, their running game has been very good the last couple of weeks. But they do have losses to Penn State and Michigan State, which don't help. Arizona State, Colorado, real good game here. Colorado was kind of giving it to them for most of the game, kind of leading the game, kind of being the better team for most of the game. And then, Arizona had a huge fourth quarter and took over 141-30. Washington won 38-3. Dante Pettis got his ninth punt return, so he's the all-time leader in punt returns now as a player. San Diego State won again. Fresno State won again. And then USC, Arizona, real good game here. Khalil Tate tried to come back late. After USC shut Arizona down, did a really good job against Arizona, shut them down all day. Definitely didn't look like the Arizona team that I had seen the 3 weeks prior to this. And then Arizona almost made a little bit of comeback there at the end, but then Ronald Jones had something to say about that, and he took over. He had I don't know for sure over 100 yards. He had 194 yards. He almost had he had 3 touchdowns. He almost had 200 yards. Good game from him. So that's how last week went. Good week of college football. Now, and see how it set us up for this next week. I know we have on Friday night we have Stanford versus Washington. It's at Stanford. I'm going to take Washington. I like Washington in this game. I hadn't been impressed with Stanford's offense other than Bryce Love, and I don't really bank on Bryce Love and that offense being able to get past Washington's defense. And I think Washington will be able to do just enough on offense. A big game for Washington to move up towards the playoff. Arkansas, LSU. I'll take LSU for sure. Not impressed with Arkansas. Playing backup quarterback too. Florida, South Carolina. I'll take South Carolina. I don't like what I saw out of Florida last week. Oklahoma State, Iowa State. Big game here. I think Iowa State plays Oklahoma State. Iowa State plays Oklahoma State's deep. Iowa State will play Oklahoma State pretty well defensively. I think Oklahoma State will win the game, though. Tough loss last week. I think they beat Iowa State. Iowa State already overachieving a little bit on this year. Texas Tech, Baylor. This could be a good game here. Baylor's been playing better as of lately. I'm going to go ahead and go Baylor. I'm not a big Tech fan, so I'll go Baylor. Then you got Nebraska, Minnesota. I'll take Minnesota. No, I'll take Nebraska. I'll take Nebraska on the road over Minnesota. Michigan State, Ohio State, big game here. I'll take Ohio State. I think Ohio State will bounce back and win after that bad loss. But Michigan State definitely, they have a chance. Definitely are right there to win that. NC State, Boston College. I'll take NC State on the road. Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. I'll take Virginia Tech on the road. Wake Forest, Syracuse. I'll take I'll take Syracuse. With the losses that Wake Forest has on the offensive end now, with the receiver out, Jesse Bates injured, I'll take Syracuse at home. Georgia Auburn, good game here. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Auburn on this one. I think Georgia. They're destined for a slip up. Auburn's played really good lately. They have another. They have Auburn has 2 losses, one to Clemson, one to LSU. The LSU one was kind of fluky. They lost it late. They were winning by like 20 in that game. So I'm going to go Auburn at home. Auburn's always been one of the teams that I liked, and I've liked Georgia this year, but I don't know if Georgia's destined to go undefeated this year. So I'll take Auburn at home. West Virginia, Kansas State. We don't really know what's going on with the quarterback situation with Kansas State. I'll go West Virginia on the road. Michigan, Maryland. I'll take Michigan to beat Maryland. Iowa, Wisconsin. I'm going to go with another upset here. I think Iowa gets past Wisconsin. I've been real impressed with Iowa lately. They had a tough game a couple weeks ago against Northwestern. Both those teams are trending up. They beat Ohio State last week. They were at home, so that does change things. But, Wisconsin has not been challenged at all this year. I really don't know how good Wisconsin is. I know their defense is good, but let's see how they play against Iowa. I'm taking Iowa on the road. Florida State, Clemson. I'll take Clemson in this one. I have not been impressed with Florida State this year. Virginia versus Louisville. I'll take Louisville. I think Virginia's defense will give Lamar Jackson fits, but I think Lamar Jackson gets the win coming off a bye. SMU Navy, good little American Conference game here. I'll take SMU. I like SMU over Navy this year. Vanderbilt, Kentucky. I'll take Kentucky to beat Vanderbilt. USC, Colorado. I'll take USC for sure to beat Colorado. Colorado's definitely struggled this year. They are at home, so, give them a little bit of help there. That'll give them a little bit of help since they get to play in the altitude, but I'll take USC. Washington State, Utah. I'll take Washington State on the road. I think Utah will give them fits, but I think Washington State will win. Kansas, Texas. Texas is going to slaughter them after that loss to Kansas last year. Alabama, Mississippi State. I don't really think Mississippi State has a chance in this one. I'll take Alabama to win by a good amount. Mississippi State did not play good against Georgia or Auburn, and I think they don't play good against Alabama either. Purdue, Northwestern, good little game here. In the Big Ten, I'll take Northwestern. They're real hot right now. I do like Purdue though this year, but I'll take Northwestern. Tennessee, Missouri. Tennessee looking for their first SEC win. I'll take Missouri at home though. Missouri coming off a win against Florida last week, scored a good amount of points. And then 2 of the top games of the week: TCU, Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma. I'll take Oklahoma. I think Baker Mayfield continues to impress. I think TCU's defense plays good, but I like what I saw out of Oklahoma last week. They got weapons everywhere, and Baker Mayfield is the second coming of Brett Favre. So I really like Oklahoma. I think Baker Mayfield's really making a statement for that Heisman. As a lot of times during the year, last year was a little bit different because Lamar Jackson was the Heisman front runner at the first year, and he was the guy all year. But in most years, there's a guy that comes out in September and October, and then they fade. And, Saquon Barkley, he's fading. And not in the sense, obviously his play hasn't been as good lately. Now, his impact in his team, I think he's still a tremendous player. But I think the fact that he's got 2 losses in a row, I think it doesn't help. The Heisman has always been rewarded to, a really good team also. So, and I think Oklahoma's going to be a really good team at the end of the year. They're going to win this game. They'll win the next week. And then they'll have the Big 12 championship game against whoever they have to play. But yeah, kind of like a little playoff here for the Big 12 with TCU and Oklahoma playing some elimination game there, and then Iowa State and Oklahoma State. Hopefully we can get this Oklahoma State-Oklahoma matchup again. Notre Dame, Miami, it's in Miami. I'll take Notre Dame, though. I really like what I've seen out of Notre Dame this year. I definitely like them over Miami. I'd be surprised if Miami wins this game on Saturday. Arizona State, UCLA, I'll take Arizona State. Oregon State, Arizona, I'll take Arizona. And then Boise State, Colorado. I'm going to go with Colorado at home. I think Colorado can get that win, give Boise State their first loss in the Mountain West this year.